I would like to congratulate everybody in the room on another record-breaking year. You know, we set the bar pretty high last year in 2014, and we set yet another production record this year in 2015. It's a remarkable story. When you look back at production history, in 2007, we harvested close to the same number of acres that we harvested this year in 2015. In 2007, we harvested 12 million tons, and the average yield was 40.8 tons per acre. It was 8 years ago. This year, we harvested 14.36 million tons from the same number of acres. That's nearly a 20% increase in yield that we experienced this year. In 8 years, 20% increase. No other major crop in this country, or probably around the world, can claim that kind of progress, so it's really remarkable. Now, no doubt, we'll continue to have challenges in front of us, but for the time being, I would like to enjoy the moment and grab a glass and say cheers to everybody's success in 2015. So. So every year, for the last 15 years, we've recognized individuals for their contribution to the processing tomato business. We have some of the previous recipients in the room tonight, and if I could impose on all of you to please stand and be recognized in the room here. So we've got Bill Swanson, please stand. Let's get all you guys. Seiji, I know you're here. Seiji, can you stand for me, please? Most of you know that our recipient tonight is Dr. Dianne Barrett. Diane's here tonight with her husband, Peter, her mom, Kathleen, her sisters, Marie and Patty. And for those of you that don't know, Dianne is retiring in June of 2016. It's a sad day for us in the processing tomato business, but it's reality. And as we look around this room, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are following Dianne down that path in the next few years. There is not one of us in the tomato business that Dianne's work has not touched. Whether you work in processing, growing, or the development of new genetics, she's had an impact on what you do. Dianne's a native Californian. She was born just south of here in Ceres, California, and when she was 5 years old, she moved to Sacramento with her family. Her parents were both school teachers. Her dad is still with us. He's 94 years old and couldn't be here tonight, but bless his heart, we're thinking about him. Her dad taught agriculture at Livingston High School and ultimately retired as the Director of Vocational Education for the state of California. So you can imagine education was important in Dianne's family. When she finished high school, Dianne was accepted into UCD, but on Dad's advice, she attended her first 2 years of college at Sac City. While she was at Sac City, she swam competitively. She was active in the speech class. She competed in and won several competitions, both at the state level and national level, in speech class when she was at Sac City. After she finished her 2 years at Sac City, she transferred to the Food Science Department at UCD. She was president of the Food Technology Club. She won the Emil Marak Prize in Food Science, and she graduated from Davis in 1978 and ended up coming back to the same department 14 years later. So on the journey that led her back to the Food Science Department at Davis, she got her master's degree at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She worked for Darrell Lund on the thermal effects on quality. It was at Wisconsin that Dianne got interested in processing and its effect on product quality. And as she puts it, it's the marriage between engineering and chemistry. From her early days in college, Dianne was interested in finding a way to help feed hungry people in developing countries. While at Wisconsin, a fellow student from Indonesia helped her connect with a project funded by the World Bank. So after she received her master's degree from Wisconsin, she was hired to do research at a new Institute of Agriculture in Bogor, Indonesia. She arrived expecting a new institute and found a facility in the early phases of construction. She pitched in and she helped design labs, taught classes in how to use instruments, and did whatever was necessary to get the project up and running, including learning a new language. So Dianne spent 4 years in Indonesia. After completing her project with the Ag Institute, she completed 2 projects working for the Indonesian equivalent of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The time spent in Indonesia was a defining period for Dianne. She used kindness, generosity, persistence, and worked with a selfless commitment to the people she was helping. And in her words, those 4 years set me up for work in extension. I learned how to get things done. While she was working in Indonesia, Dianne met John Kinsella. And you may recognize the name. Dr. Kinsella was the Dean of the College of Agriculture here at Davis in the early 90s. When he became familiar with Dianne's work, it was in the mid-80s, and he was chairman of the Food Science Department at Cornell. So when Dianne returned to the U.S. from Indonesia, she received a full scholarship to Cornell. And Kinsella at the time was working on lipid chemistry and fish, and was hoping Dianne would work in his lab. Instead, Dianne chose to work on fruits and vegetables. Thank God. While at Cornell, she considered changing her path to plant breeding. Ultimately, she stayed the course, completed her PhD in food biochemistry at Cornell in 1989. From Cornell, she went to work for Oregon State University in a position similar to her current position, 50% extension and 50% research. While at OSU, she did research in collaboration with breeders, growers, and processors on corn, beans, raspberries, blueberries, apples, pears, and other crops. But when the opportunity to return to Davis developed, she applied, and in 1992, she came home to UCD in her current role as an extension specialist in the Department of Food Science and Technology. She spends half of her time on extension and half on research. And for those of you that know and have worked with Dianne, you know she's very gifted when it comes to connecting the research side with the extension side of her world. Dianne's published over 150 reviewed articles during her career. She's received numerous awards for excellence from both academia and industry. I asked Dianne if she could explain why she was such a prolific researcher while simultaneously helping the industry gain so much ground in improving color, flavor, texture, nutritional value, and food safety. Her answer was that her connectivity with industry gave her insight into industry challenges that she knew she could impact with her applied research. When I asked her to comment on some of the highlights of her career here at Davis, she reflected back to the early 90s, when the industry was just beginning to focus on some of the value-added products requiring peeled and diced ingredients. Some of her first work was spent on lye and steam peeling, lycopene production, growing conditions, and improvements in analytical techniques to make them easier, safer, and faster. It's impossible to hit all the highlights, but I can tell you Dianne has contributed to improvements in genetics, processing, and provided educational outreach that has touched nearly everyone in this room. She's developed course curriculum for process control schools, freezing technology, advanced processing methods, aseptic processing and packaging, fruit and vegetable quality, and through her variety evaluation program has helped us select varieties that have improved bricks, color, viscosity, texture, peel recovery, and nutritional value. She has made a very significant contribution to our business. And we're happy to have this opportunity to recognize Dianne for what she's given us in the tomato business and to tell her how much we'll miss her. Outstanding contributions to the California processed tomato industry. Thanks, Dianne. And if you want to exercise some of those skills that you developed at Sac City, we'd love to.
Thank you so much. It's kind of hard to follow all of that. I have to say that Scott asked me if I'd get together with him for lunch to get some history so that he'd have a basis to make the presentation tonight. And we got together for lunch once for 2 hours, and we hadn't covered everything, so we had to do it 3 times. And we had so much fun just talking about tomatoes, and Ken joined us. He came down, he flew down and joined us for lunch. And I told him last week when we had our last lunch meeting, I said, I'm kind of sorry I'm getting this award next week because we can't have lunch anymore. And he said, yeah, we can still get together. So I wanted to say thank you to a few people. First of all, to AgSeeds and its whole team, not only Scott and Ken, but actually AgSeeds has put on this dinner for all of us for the last 16 years. And I wonder if the AgSeeds folks, the whole team, can stand up and let us applaud them. If you guys would do that, please. Yeah? Thank you for doing this. My mom's here with my sister. They live in Elk Grove. And we were trying to figure out the logistics. My other sister lives about half a mile from here. And just to show you how good AgSeeds was to me, I was worried about how to get my mom and my sister here, and Scott said, Dianne, don't worry about it. And they rented a limo that picked up my mom and my sister. First time my sister's ever been in a limo. Wow. Now they think I really might be somebody. Finally. So thank you, Scott, for all of those kindnesses to my family back. I wanted to thank my husband, Peter. Peter, say hi. And my daughter for allowing me to pursue my dream and work with the tomato industry for so many years. And also my parents and my sisters for supporting me. When I told my parents I wanted to go work in Indonesia, they didn't say no. They didn't say why. They just brought out a map and we looked at, oh, there it is, okay. So they were very supportive. And I wanted to thank the whole industry. You guys are like my family. You know, whether the breeders, you taught me so much about varieties, and Bill taught me how to drop tomatoes off trucks and see if they'd bounce or not, and whether they'd be good peelers. And Mike Keene and Rich and Steve taught me all about genetics. Chris helped support research. Others of you in the group supported my research through the years. Many of the growers let me come into your fields, and Jean Miel taught me how to pick tomatoes, you know. What could be better than that? So you guys are like my brothers and sisters out there. So, so thank you, all of you. You know, you helped with everything along the way. Tom Ramey, I don't think is here, but he taught me what MOT was. You know? so these were really important things. I started the tomato processing school with Steve Stewart and Glenn Langstaff. Glenn's not in the industry anymore, but you know, that was a dream I had, and some people didn't think we needed it, but it's going on, it's, I don't know what, over 10 years of life. So I really appreciate everything that everyone's done to me, to help me through the years. Roger Scriven sat me down and taught me about peeling tomatoes. A couple of lunches worth of that. So I really appreciate everything everyone's done. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's happening in the future. A lot of people have asked, you know, is there a replacement? Unfortunately, the university isn't as smart as the industry, and they don't hire people ahead of time to overlap with us. So we're going to have to wait till I retire, and then hope that someone will come after me. But in the meantime, I've actually started something, some of you may have seen this by the door. I put together a fruit and vegetable faculty fellowship, and this is to try to make sure that there's somebody in the Department of Food Science and Technology that all of you can call and talk to. Someone that will come to your meetings, someone that will be a liaison to the industry. So this is a fellowship that I started with funds that I had brought in from extension classes. One of the classes Scott mentioned is called the Better Process Control School. It's a class that's required by the FDA of anybody processing acidified or low acid foods. And I was the first one actually in the world to videotape it and have it go online in 2010. We've had over 3,000 people from like 60 countries take the course online. And we've made over $500,000 on the course. So I took $400,000 of that money and put it into this fellowship. That accrues a certain amount of interest, it's 4%. So at the moment, we will get about $16,000 a year off of that fellowship to support one faculty member that will work on fruit and vegetable processing. But I'd like to build that. And we have a stretch goal of, that's developmentally though, of 1.5 million. So we'd love to have enough money to endow a professorship. And that would bring in an interest rate of $60,000 a year, and that would fund a graduate student. So that's something that I've started. So if you'd like to take one of these, we have a pile of them here on the table as you came in, and we're going to try to build that up. And then the second thing is I can't go out without one final party. We're going to have a tomato symposium on May 6th, and it'll be just one day. I've brought in a couple of colleagues, one from Italy and one from France, who I think are doing really interesting work in processing tomatoes. And then we'll have a couple of my colleagues from Ohio State who are also working on processing tomatoes, and a couple of people from UC Davis. So that will be one day, and then at the end of that evening, May 6th, put it in your calendar, there's going to be a retirement dinner at UC Davis. Hopefully the weather will be good and we'll have it outside in our institute under the stars and the olive trees. So with that, I'd like to just thank everyone for making my career so rewarding and you know, it made a big difference to me to be doing work that meant something. So working with all of you has been fabulous. So please stay in touch.